Hi all, welcome. Ooh, that's loud. Welcome to the NSSR recognition ceremony. We're not gonna get started just yet. I just wanted to share that we have a really full auditorium today, a lot of guests. So if you see empty seats next to you in your row, it would be great if you moved down a bit so that new people coming in are able to get to those seats, because sometimes people don't want to ask, like, excuse me. So if you're able to move down the row and make way for people, thank you so much. And we'll get started in just a few minutes.
Microphone test. Testing 1 2. Microphone test. Testing 1 2. The sound. Little buzz sound, nice and clear. Where's the audio feed guy? How's the sound now back there for the camera guy? Good? Do you get that buzz? You good? Good? Cool.
Chair of the Board of Trustees of the New School, Dean Cox, Dean Kessler, members of the Board of Governors of the New School for Social Research, faculty, family members, friends, partners, alumni, and 2025 graduates of the New School for Social Research. It's a glorious day. Many hours of labor, for some of you many years actually, have brought you to this moment, a time to recognize both accomplishment and transition. And, you know, a moment of inflection maybe calls for a few moments of reflection. So I want you to take a minute to remember your first day in an NSSR class. Or remember when you read an article or a book that fundamentally altered the way you thought about your discipline or the world. Recall a time when a classmate made you smile or laugh or pulled you through a tough moment. Reflect on a conversation with a faculty member that complicated what you thought was simple or made simple what you thought complicated. And you know and I know something else. You didn't do this alone. Others helped you get here and helped you get through, and it would not be inappropriate to turn them now to them and show your appreciation. You know, my guess is you feel that these moments have flown by these couple of years, haven't they? And yet a lot has happened. I'm rather certain that in important ways that you're leaving a different person than when you arrived. With the help of people on the stage and your fellow classmates, you've thought deeper, you've ventured wider, and you're probably leaving with more questions than answers. But that's the whole point of an NSSR education. You know, there are loud voices in the land clamoring for an education keyed to skills training, as if our job, yours and theirs, is to mold you to an employer's needs, the social and economic systems requirements. We see it differently. We think your task is to break the mold. It's a difficult time in our nation and the world. The challenges need not be repeated. They're known to any thinking person and surely to every member of this perspicacious audience. So I will not, as many speakers might, ask you to go forth and change the world, perhaps as graduates of schools in Cambridge and New Haven are hubristically told. Rather, I would urge you to make two demands on this world. At every moment of injustice, every official act of cruelty, ask the question that we repeatedly ask here. Demand to know why. Why in this world of boundless imagination, of startling beauty, of natural wonder, of intellect and know-how, why are such things done and why are they tolerated? And what should follow, as night doth day, is a demand for accountability. More and more we live in a world where the powerful act with impunity and immunity. You've learned here, I am certain, to hold yourselves intellectually and ethically accountable to yourselves, to your friends, family, community. And you've earned the ability and the right to demand of others what you have learned to demand of yourselves. But for today, we're going to put these somewhat lugubrious thoughts aside. We're going to celebrate. We're going to sing praises to you and all you've accomplished, and we'll dance not to the perils, but to the promise of the future. Today we share the pride of your parents, family members, partners, and friends, and we say, well done, class of 2025. Well done indeed. We begin our program tonight with an address from our student speaker, and I now invite Associate Dean Ellen Freeberg to introduce our student speaker, Begonia Gerling.
Hi, everyone. Big congratulations to all of you, and special congratulations to Begonia, who's now a PhD from the Department of Politics. So, yeah. So, Begonia, like so many of your colleagues here, you've spent years doing some very distinctive New School things. First, you shaped social research around your political passions. You aimed to understand how a radical democratic politics requires the energy and imagination of short-lived, disruptive collective actions, Occupy Wall Street, Marches for Black Lives, a Me Too movement. You experienced these over a decade, and you aimed to explain why they do not disappoint even if they come and go. Because such moments remain crucial to freedom and creativity in a healthy democracy, and radical activism can inspire even when it's not revolutionary. Second, you worked across borders, intellectually, taking full advantage of close-knit small faculty here. You sought mentorship in political theory with Andreas Calavas, in global politics with Anne McNevin, and in sociology with theorist and Latin Americanist Carlos Forment. Your work exemplifies how interdisciplinary connections can propel intellectual progress. And finally, you and so many colleagues here brought unique energy to administrative work even, running student-led conferences, solving problems, and in your case, in the case of some others here, Begonia, you were a student advisor formally. So I'd say you were part of our slightly deep state, although it's kind of shallow because most of us have few places to hide since most of you are involved in a lot of what we do. And I don't think some of us care that much about being too deep in administration anyhow, much as we still want to do it well. So thank you, Begonia, and to all of you for being here, for putting faith in this institution to participate in it, and to your families, many of whom traveled near and far to be with us today, including Begonia's family coming from Mexico. Begonia, please come forward to address your fellow graduates.
Thank you, Ellen, for such a wonderful introduction. Well, good evening, everyone. Congratulations. I want to start by thanking the faculty and everyone at the Dean's Office for offering me this opportunity to speak to you today. Being here has a special meaning for me. As Ellen mentioned, I worked as a student advisor in the politics department for 3 years, and I participated in other graduation ceremonies in the past, helping with logistics and organization. So I know firsthand the hard work and effort behind this ceremony. So please join me now in a big round of applause too for everyone at Academic Affairs, Francesca, Sherry, Aaron, Ellen, student advisors, and all the volunteers who make this event possible. So after watching many times from the back of the room, it's nice to be here today at the other end. In some way, it feels like coming full circle, completing something that began many, and in my case, I mean many years ago. Today is a day of joy and celebration, certainly, and this is well-deserved. But I also think it is important to recognize the hardships and the challenges we have faced along the way. These not only give us perspective, they give meaning and value to the efforts and sacrifices that brought us here. When I applied to graduate school in the US, I gave up on other fully funded offers and accepted the new schools almost without hesitation. Back then, the new school offered limited financial support, unfortunately, but I managed to put together as many scholarships, grants, and loans I could get. A rational choice analysis of my decision would probably qualify me as a totally mad and irrational person, and perhaps I was. But I always knew this was the place I wanted to be. I think today confirms that against all odds, my intuition was correct. My story is not unique. During my years here, I would hear similar stories to mine. So I know for a fact how much everyone in this room has sacrificed to come here. Living in New York and attending the new school, as we all know, is as unique as it is difficult. Many of us struggle to pay rent, working multiple jobs to make ends meet. Some of us even went into debt. Many of us left our countries and families behind, navigating a graduate program in a foreign language and in a foreign city, struggling to articulate our ideas in a second or even a third language, let alone write an entire dissertation. Like Gloria from the sitcom Modern Family would say, "Do you even know how smart I am in Spanish?" So we all face moments of uncertainty and self-doubt, fighting the imposter syndrome again and again. It took a lot of hard work, perseverance, personal sacrifice, and patience to get here. Long days and nights of work where the end of the tunnel felt too far away and out of reach. And while at times it might have felt like a lonely path, we were never truly walking it alone. It took a lot of help, guidance, and support from many people, from our student advisors, department secretaries, academic affairs staff, past and present, Suya, PJ, Ryan, Francesca. From our faculty, our advisors, our colleagues, and our student union. From our friends and our families, some of them joining us in this audience today. Gracias, Ma. Gracias, Pa. As I reflect, on my experience at the new school, one thing stands out above all else: the human character. My time here has been profoundly shaped and enriched by the people I share this journey with. Like many of you, I came to the new school because of its history and its reputation for critical theory and scholarship, but I never expected to find such an inspiring community. A community of intellectual companions, comrades in a struggle, and friendships that will stay with me for life. My education here went far beyond the classroom and the readings. It was in the late-night conversations, the shared purpose, the bar debates over cheap beer and suspiciously unhealthy but affordable food. Here I found not only an intellectual home, but a politically engaged and caring community, a community of solidarity ready to give a hand and mobilize in the face of injustice. Whether it was the unfair dismissal of cafeteria workers, police violence against Black and brown communities, the rise of authoritarianism, now quickly morphing into fascism, the arbitrary detention and deportation of members of our immigrant community, and for the past year and a half, the unfolding of a genocide before our very eyes. I found colleagues and faculty who aspired to do much more than just contributing to their fields of study. People politically committed and actively working to change things for the better within and beyond academia. I came to study political theory, but I was schooled in everyday practice and critically engaged scholarship. During my time here, I lived through 2 graduate student worker strikes, 1 part-time faculty strike, 2 student occupations, you can tell I got to see how it is to put theory into action. Today, because of that, I also want to recognize all the past and present students, student workers, staff, part-time and full-time faculty who have put their bodies on the line, living out the principles and ideals on which this university was founded, reminding us that those principles are not to be taken for granted, but must be fought and safeguarded ongoingly. Many of us here also survived a pandemic while completing our studies. The pandemic profoundly changed the life and the community we knew. It has taken some time, but I'm happy to see some small sprouts of that vibrant spirit coming back to life. That gives me hope for the future. And it comes at a time when it is most needed, when universities themselves and critical thinking and voices in particular are at enormous risk of being silenced. I leave the new school with a mixed feeling of hope and despair, a pessimism of the intellect, but an optimism of the will, as I first read in Antonio Gramsci in my very first year here in Nancy Fraser's class. As we move on and leave what has been our academic home for the past years, let's not forget what we lived and learned during our time here. Let's continue to put our values into practice wherever we go next, to speak truth to power, to build solidarity across difference, and to fight injustice whenever we find it. It is time we take the critical thinking and engaged scholarship we learned beyond these walls into places where it is most needed right now. This task may feel daunting, especially today, when chaos casts a dark shadow over the world. But I want to end by recalling the words of one of the new school's great minds, and part of the reason I also came to study here, Hannah Arendt. Even in the darkest of times, we have the right to expect some illumination, and that such illumination may well come less from theories and concepts than from the uncertain, flickering, and often weak light that some men and women in their lives and their works will kindle under almost all circumstances and shed over the time span that was given them on earth. May we carry that flickering light into the world, reaching further than we thought possible. But before we go, let's honor and celebrate this milestone. Congratulations, class of 2025.
Thank you, Begonia. Next, I want to welcome our faculty speaker. Miriam Steele is the Alfred J. and Monetzi Marrow Professor of Psychology, and she's co-director of the Center for Attachment Research. I'm going to say a few words here, if you don't mind. Come. Professor Steele's work bridges the world of psychoanalytic thinking and clinical practice with contemporary research into child development. Her research began with a study entitled Intergenerational Patterns of Attachment, which demonstrated how the link between parents' experiences of attachment in their childhoods predict attachment relationships in the next generation, namely their children. Her current projects include exploring attachment and body representations across a range of individuals, including transmission of body representations from mothers to their daughters, studies of body representations in individuals with physical disabilities, and research exploring smartphone use and its impact on the parent-child relationship. Dr. Steele embraces the interdisciplinary focus at NSSR with courses that blend psychology and Parsons School of Design students in the field of child and adolescent global mental health. Miriam Steele.
Thank you so much, Alex. I was so wanting to come and deliver my few words that I got up early. So, welcome, colleagues, parents, and especially our esteemed graduates. Today you join the ranks of thinkers who have dared to question the world and as it is, and to imagine what it could be. Congratulations, not just on completing your degrees, but on choosing a path that refuses to separate knowledge from action. I'd like to offer you what I would like to call a relationship toolbox, insights gleaned from your time at NSSR that might serve you well in the years ahead. This toolbox has been shaped by giants, whose shoulders we all stand upon. Remarkable NSSR psychology scholars who found refuge here in the aftermath of World War II, and whose ideas still illuminate our path today. But first, let me share a personal story to give you a sense a little bit of who I am and why developmental psychology was such a pull for me. When I was 8 years old, growing up in Vancouver, Canada, an esteemed landscape architect came to our school. 300 odd children were sitting cross-legged on the floor, and she said, "I'm here to design a new playground for you. What are your dreams? What would you like?" As an 8-year-old, with only the kind of confidence an 8-year-old could muster, I was like, I know. So I was called upon, and she said, "What would you like?" And I said, "We love to play hide and seek, so we need mountains and tunnels and waterfalls." Fast forward 1 year later, at the ribbon cutting ceremony, not one of my ideas unfolded. I looked around bewildered. No tunnels, no mountains, no waterfalls. In fact, none of them, my suggestions, were anywhere. It was my first lesson in the gap between consultation and implementation. A lesson many of you social researchers might find familiar. But here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Fast forward 10 years later, at the age of 18, I was hired to be a research assistant in the lab at University of British Columbia by somebody called Stanley Coren, who was a leading expert in visual perception. He actually taught here at the New School and was a colleague of Arian Mack, the previous holder of the Alfred J. and Monette C. Merrow professorship that I now hold. One day, Stanley Coren walks in because he received a notice from the New School's development office. Now, you might get one of these very, very soon, maybe even tomorrow, soliciting for funds. So along with the request for funds was a poster inviting us to come and study in environmental psychology. The poster specifically mentioned planning children's playgrounds as a potential career path. I taped that poster to the back of my bedroom door, and I thought to myself, I'm going to go there one day. So here we are, 40 years later, not quite designing playgrounds, but at the New School nonetheless, working in the field of clinical psychology, researching attachment relationships, and blending psychology with design. The environmental psychology program didn't last, but my dream, reconfigured and reimagined, sustained me. I found my way here by embracing opportunities, even when they weren't exactly what I had initially envisioned. You were educated at a university founded by scholar refugees, visionaries escaping Nazi persecution, who became critics of the status quo. That legacy isn't abstract theory. It's your inheritance. And let's be honest, you're graduating into a world that feels, well, quite unwell. The climate crisis accelerates. War-related trauma spreads. Authoritarian politics gain ground globally, including in our own country. And artificial intelligence is busy rewriting everything from pedagogy to psychotherapy. But here's the good news. You are all uniquely prepared for this moment. What distinguishes a New School education is its commitment to the relational. We study not only what people think, but how we come to know ourselves through others. I challenge you to keep being the kind of people who ask, who's been left out of the conversation, whose subjectivity hasn't yet been named. How can I use my work to amplify and not eclipse their voices? So now I'd like to share with you, as we go back into the archives of the New School, 2 legacy scholars whose work embodied this relational approach. The first is Sándor Ferenczi. Ferenczi may not headline in psychoanalytic circles. Freud tends to steal that spotlight. But his legacy runs deep in the DNA of the New School. Ferenczi believed that empathy wasn't optional in analysis, but essential. He dared to say, healing doesn't come primarily from clever interpretations, but from genuine human connection, from the analyst's willingness to feel with the patient, from his term, radical empathy. To honor his approach, here at the New School, we established the Shandor Ferenczi Center in 2008, promoting his clinical innovations and socially progressive interdisciplinary conversations between psychoanalysis, the arts, humanities, and social sciences. The next group of scholars that I would like to refer to is the Gestalt School. Gestalt, the German word for whole or pattern, found refuge here too at the New School after fleeing Nazi Germany. Thinkers like Kurt Lewin, Wolfgang Kohler, quite a few of them are called Wolfgang, and Max Wertheimer were fascinated by perception, specifically how we understand the relationship between parts and wholes. They insisted that meaning doesn't arise from isolated parts, but from relationships between them. The whole is different from the sum of parts, they said, arguing that reality isn't something we passively receive, but something we actively create through perception. Consider Kohler's work with a chimpanzee who became quite famous called Sultan. Kohler arranged for a hook full of bananas to hang just out of Sultan's pen. And there were 2 bamboo sticks nearby, each too short to reach the fruit alone. Sultan tried one stick, then the other. Frustrated, he sat back. Minutes passed. Then something changed. Sultan examined one stick's hollow end, and then he put it together with the other stick, and after a moment of hesitation, he deliberately inserted the 2 sticks, creating a longer tool so that he could easily reach those bananas. Sultan had achieved what the Gestalt School of Psychologists call insight, seeing beyond individual parts to their potential relationships, mentally restructuring the problem to find a solution. Today, it's tempting to fragment our attention, our identities, our sense of purpose. We're offered bite-sized versions of everything: tweets, headlines, diagnosis, hot takes. But Gestalt theory reminds us context matters. Meaning arises from relationships, and we learn most by observing others, asking questions, and discovering how things fit together, not just what they are. As you leave here today, I hope you'll carry these tools with you. Number 1, dream big and be patient. The path to your dreams may not be direct. It rarely is. Be dedicated to your pursuit, yet open to discovering something unexpected along the way. The playground you eventually build might not be the one that you first imagined. Secondly, practice radical empathy. Establish and maintain relationships that help you make sense of the world. The connection you forge here with ideas and with people may sustain you in ways you cannot yet imagine. And thirdly, seek wholeness in fragmented times. As you work to solve problems, pay attention to all parts of the context. Think and feel deeply about how these parts might come together in ways that lead to holistic solutions. So I'm going to go against what Alex said. Graduates of 2025, we expect you to change the world. But remember the wisdom, perhaps from an ancient Talmudic teaching from Ethics of Our Fathers. It is not your duty to finish the work, but neither are you at liberty to neglect it. The unfinished playground of my childhood didn't stop me from finding my way to the New School. The unfinished state of our world need not stop you from building something better, one relationship, one insight, one act of courage at a time. Congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you, Professor Steele. Lovely. We turn next in the program to our first award of the evening. This is the Robert H. Mundheim Medal to the Living Spirit. The Robert H. Mundheim Medal to the Living Spirit is awarded to individuals who champion NSSR through extraordinary academic and professional accomplishments, who exemplify the New School spirit, and who demonstrate a deep commitment to strengthening the university community and the future of the institution. The medal's unique name is derived from a quote from author Thomas Mann, who spoke at the University in Exile, what we now call the New School for Social Research, here in 1937. The university's graduate school faculty had been charged with preserving the spirit of free inquiry amid the rule of oppressive governments in the 1930s, and many of them came here as refugees. Mann suggested that they adopt the motto, "To the living spirit." It's with pleasure and pride that this year we award the Robert H. Mundheim Medal to the living spirit to Robert Poland, Distinguished University Professor of Economics and co-director of the Political Economy Research Institute at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Bob received his MA and his PhD in economics from NSSR and has served on our Board of Governors since 2008. Bob Poland has had an extremely distinguished career as a scholar, an institution builder, and advocate. He has done widely recognized scholarly work in, wait for the list here, macroeconomics, monetary theory, fiscal policy, the economics of debt and growth, labor markets, social protection policy, healthcare, climate change, and globalization. And beyond the scholarship, Poland has made many other important professional contributions. For many years, the Political Economy Research Institute at UMass has been the go-to place for serious economic analysis of the leading issues of the day. He's worked as a consultant for the U.S. Department of Energy, for the International Labor Organization, and numerous non-governmental organizations around the world and in the U.S. He's worked with many U.S. non-governmental organizations on creating living wage statutes at both statewide and municipal levels, and on financial regulatory policies, and on the economics of single-payer healthcare in the United States. Not surprisingly, he was selected by Foreign Policy magazine in 2013 as one of the 100 leading global thinkers. Bob is also a model for seeking engagement with people across the political spectrum, and he's one of the few heterodox economists who was always willing to debate those promoting the orthodoxy of the day. As an alumnus of the New School, he's remained connected to us. He's an important part of the fabric of our community, and we are proud to call him one of our own. It's with great pleasure that I award to Robert Poland the Robert H. Mundheim Medal to the Living Spirit.
Well, I don't quite recognize the person you're describing, but sounds good. It's great being here, being back here. I have been on the board, but I confess I don't go to too many meetings. I can see you're doing just fine without me. I first want to say how much I deeply appreciate this tremendous honor, and accepting this honor 50 years after I took my first courses as a master's student in the New School Economics graduate program, after having taken exactly 0 economics courses as an undergraduate at the University of Wisconsin. It is a great thrill for me to have with me my wife, Sigrid, my daughter, Hannah. My former classmates from 50 years ago are here, David Howe on the faculty, and you've been a faculty member almost as long as after I graduated. Ahmet Tonak, Rick McGahee, if he's here. We graduated on the very same day. A classmate from my undergraduate days at the University of Wisconsin, John Bloom. A former PhD student, Ying Chen, is somewhere there, who is now a tenured faculty member here in the program, economics. I'm also thinking today of my parents, Abe and Irene Poland, and my grandparents, Morris and Jenny Poland, Goldie and Herman Kirchek. Most of you probably know the origins of Thomas Mann's beautifully resonant phrase, "To the living spirit," which Robert Mundheim has brought to life again through reviving this award. I didn't know the phrase or its origins at all until Dean Alinikoff explained them to me in our Zoom call a couple of months ago. This is even though, as I told Alex during our call, I had been for a time in grad school actually an obsessed reader of Thomas Mann, in particular his 1,200-plus page four-novel series, Joseph and His Brothers. My then fiancée, Sigrid, had bought me a copy just months before our wedding. In his 1937 lecture at the New School, Mann set out a massive challenge for this, at the time, fledgling institution. Here is what Mann said at the end of his 1937 New School lecture. The youngest American institution of higher learning is an interesting way to connect with a strange incident, which should put every German to shame. An incident that happened at, or I should rather say was inflicted on, the oldest German university, Heidelberg. There, a great lecture hall bore the inscription, "To the Living Spirit." This inscription, unbelievable as it seems, has been removed from the building. Thus, the regime itself has declared that there is, for the time being, no home for the living spirit in Germany's universities. Now I suggest that your faculty take those words and make them your motto, to indicate that the living spirit driven from Germany has found a home in this country. When I began my graduate work in January 1975, 50 years ago, there was no question that the New School had risen up and met the challenge set out by Thomas Mann. The New School economics program was truly unique in its commitment to engage seriously with what should be recognized, but almost never is recognized, as the most profound questions that economists should ponder. These are questions on the very nature of capitalism, a society whose driving forces, as Adam Smith so powerfully described in The Wealth of Nations, our driving forces are self-interest, or we could say greed, and competition. That's what drives the economy. Equally, almost no economics programs were examining seriously the prospects for advancing egalitarian alternatives to capitalist societies, whether we understood these alternatives as socialist, social democratic, or some other variant. My first semester at the New School, I took a class with Paul Sweezy, without question at the time, the most renowned Marxist economist in the world. When I first heard about the class from the then department student advisor, and yes, it was another student like you who was the student advisor. His name was Ron Blackwell. He himself went on to a very distinguished career as chief economist for the AFL-CIO. When Ron told me about this class with Paul Sweezy, my response was, first gasp, then studying Marx with Paul Sweezy will be like studying the Civil War with Abraham Lincoln. Among the people sitting in on Sweezy's class with we students was Daniel Ellsberg of Pentagon Papers fame. Ellsberg was the most renowned and courageous anti-Vietnam whistleblower of that period. I also had a class with the very young, late, great David Gordon, where we explored the decline and fall of feudalism as a dominant social formation and the corresponding emergence of capitalism. My second semester, I took advanced political economy with another also very young Anwar Sheikh. Anwar just retired from here 18 months ago after 53 years on the faculty. When I took his class in 1975, Anwar was in the early stages of working out the ideas that became his 2016 magnum opus, Capitalism, Competition, Conflict, Crises. One prominent reviewer of this book wrote, "The scope and scale of capitalism are such as to invite comparison with Marx's Capital itself." I took another course the same second semester with the great Robert Heilbronner. Just the titles of some of Bob's books convey the questions he pursued relentlessly. Here's some of the titles. Inquiry into the Human Prospect, The Nature and Logic of Capitalism, Marxism, For and Against. That was a tough one. The Crisis of Vision in Modern Economic Thought, co-authored with Will Milberg, the former dean here at the graduate faculty, as well as, of course, his book, the best-selling economics book of all time, The World of Philosophers. The absolute imperative of embracing the living spirit challenge set out by Thomas Mann is clearly just as salient today as it was 88 years ago. Indeed, some of the parallels between what transpired during the 1930s and our situation today are far too dangerously striking. This is how Mann, in his same 1930 lecture here, describes one particular political figure of the 1930s that he does not name in the lecture. This is Mann. He has made it his philosophy to recognize no distinction between truth and falsehood. He has set up in the world a shameful pragmatism which denies the spirit itself in the name of utility. Without scruple, he commits or approves crimes, provided they serve his advantage, or what he calls his advantage. He has no dread of falsehood, but reckons falsehood as high as truth, provided only that it is useful in his sense of the word. I should emphasize that I am not among those who insist that I am among those who insist that we not overstate comparisons between the social crises we face in the US today relative to where Germany was in the 1930s, as described then by Thomas Mann and so many others. That for all the horribleness of Donald Trump and his acolytes, and here obviously I am naming names, they are not the same as Hitler and the Nazis in the 1930s. But one fundamental reason this remains true is that we in the US today, or at least many of us in the US today, uphold as fundamental the project of extracting truth from practicing rigorous social science and of deploying these truths to advance the principles of equality, social justice, democracy, and ecological sanity. Of course, I am describing here exactly the mission that undergirds everything that goes on today at the New School for Social Research and all the work that all of you are being honored here for today. In other words, the New School continues to stand upright today as a bulwark against the modern day versions of the forces that Thomas Mann denounced so powerfully and memorably right here during the New School's earliest days. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob. I would now like to ask Vice Dean Robert Kostreva to present this year's awards to outstanding MA and PhD graduates. Award recipients, would you please come forward to receive your award when we call your name? Vice Dean Kostreva.
It is my honor and pleasure to congratulate all of our 2025 graduates on their achievement. But today we're also here to celebrate special accomplishments in scholarship and the creation of knowledge, your capacity to recognize and face the pressing problems of our time, and your ability to seek and find solutions to these challenges. Some of you came here from across the globe. Some have lived just around the corner all your lives. You have made significant investments of time and money, has to be said, to attain a graduate degree. We thank you for your commitment and the sacrifices that you and your families have made. And we look forward to sharing the pride and joy of your many future successes and accomplishments. We congratulate all of the graduates and would like to recognize the recipients of awards at today's ceremony. First, the 2025 Outstanding Master of Arts Graduate Awards go to the following recipients. In Creative Publishing and Critical Journalism, Paul Rockford. In Economics, Miriam Frauenlob. In Historical Studies, Gant Robertson. In Liberal Studies, Sarah Sharp. In Politics, Mauricio Emilio Vargas Sosa. In Psychology, Tina Shu. And in Sociology, Santiago Harvey. And now the ultimate achievement in academia, the doctoral degree and the 2025 Doctoral Commencement Awards go to the following students. I'm going to read the name of the award, the name of the student, and the title of the dissertation. So please hold your applause until the title is read. The Stanley Diamond Memorial Award in the Social Sciences goes to Miranda Tackett for for her dissertation, Imagining Death, the Effects and Aesthetics of Assisted Suicide. The Edith Henry Johnson Memorial Award in Economics, Civil Affairs and Education is awarded to Daniel Delavari Unesi for a dissertation, 3 essays on socioeconomic dynamics. The Hans Jonas Award in Philosophy goes to Kayla Klinkenbeard for dissertation Abusing Trust. The Alfred Schutz Memorial Award in Philosophy and Sociology goes to Alan Hilani for dissertation The Spell of the Leviathan, a Critique of Political Fetishism. The Hannah Arendt Award in Politics goes to Begonia Gerling for dissertation The Disruptive Moment, The Times of Radical Democracy. The Alfred J. Marrow Memorial Award in Psychology is awarded to Chantel Ebrahimi for a dissertation Residuals of Colonial Violence, Historical Trauma, Contemporary Racism, PTSD, and Polysubstance Use Among Black Emerging Adults. The Alfred J. Marrow Memorial Award in Psychology is also awarded to Michael Hager for dissertation Development of the Parent Rearing Coding System, PRCS, a novel observational measure of parental reflective functioning and sensitivity. The Irving Rock Memorial Award in Psychology is awarded to Olivia Cadwell for dissertation Agency and Collective Future Thinking about Climate Change, an applied cognitive science perspective through time and US political identity. The Irving Rock Memorial Award in Psychology is also awarded to Jen Tsudaka for dissertation Homology, Relocation and Placefulness. The Jeremy D. Safran Award in Psychology is awarded to C.J. Healy for dissertation Tripping Together, Healing Together, a prospective, longitudinal investigation of the psychological benefits of psychedelic use with therapeutic intent in naturalistic group settings among adults and histories of childhood maltreatment. The Jeremy Safran Award in Psychology is also awarded to Savannah Woods for dissertation Running Towards the Relational, the Development, Cultural Adaptation, Implementation and Evaluation of a Novel Sports-Based Intervention in partnership with the Seven Passes Institute in Thamsranten, South Africa. The Albert Salomon Memorial Award in Sociology goes to Chin Yan Lin for dissertation Cerberus in Front of Treasure, a comparative study of the credit rating system of the US and China. Congratulations to all of the awardees.
The moment has now arrived to celebrate the graduates of the academic degree programs of the New School for Social Research. I will ask the chairs and representatives of each program to introduce the candidates for degrees. The official conferral of degrees will occur tomorrow at the university's commencement at the Barclays Center, but this event is our opportunity to recognize and show our pride in each and every one of our graduates. Hugh Raffles, Professor and Chair of Anthropology, would you please come forward and present the recipients of the degrees in the Department of Anthropology?
Thank you, Alex, and welcome everybody. This is one of our favorite days of the year, as I'm sure you can imagine. Anthropology is the study of culture, basically what people say and what they do, anyone, anywhere, anytime. And that puts us in the enviable position of being able to research just about anything. Our students and faculty work here in New York and all over the world. They grapple with questions that matter to all of us: assisted suicide, infrared sensing and camouflage, pain and how to measure it, the afterlives of abandoned buildings, the reminiscences of aging musicians, many, many other things. They work with film, photography, sound, and especially writing. And they manage to be smart, creative, disciplined, and focused, despite the pressure, anxiety, and distraction they're feeling from all the attacks on universities and creativity that we're currently confronting. Anthropology at the New School is a close-knit, intimate department. We're eager to talk to each other about our work and to help each other meet our goals. Students are generous and inclusive. They're intellectually and personally courageous. Working together is challenging, it's kind of exhausting, but it's also fun. This, of course, makes commencement a bittersweet time. As faculty, we're sad to lose day-to-day contact with these students, but we're also happy and tremendously proud to celebrate their accomplishments. Some of these students we're looking forward to welcoming back in September as they begin the long journey to their PhDs. The others who are going on elsewhere, we're looking forward to staying in touch with them as alumni, hoping they'll keep sharing their knowledge, expertise, and adventures as they continue through the world. I now have the honor and pleasure to present the candidates for the degrees in the Department of Anthropology. Will the candidates for the degrees please come forward?
Of Arts are Utamasha Datta, Olivia Good, Katie Oakley, Safina Azim Qureshi, Ella Richmond, Stephanie Rodriguez Ugolotti, Maria Clara Ventura, the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy is Miranda Tackett,
James Miller, Professor of Liberal Studies and Politics and Faculty Director of Creative Publishing and Critical Journalism. Would you please come forward and present the recipients of the degrees in the Creative Publishing and Critical Journalism program?
It's a privilege to congratulate the graduates of our Master of Arts program. At a moment when all of us struggle to sift through too much information, some of it simply false, much of it increasingly pure propaganda, you have bravely entered the worlds of journalism and publishing in hopes of helping to enlighten readers, to offer information that is reliable, and when your conscience demands it, to help inspire social change. In this way, you have collectively exemplified the restless creativity, quest for innovation, and courage to challenge petrified pieties, both left and right, that I personally consider a part of our institution's core mission. I now have the honor and pleasure to present the candidates for the degrees in the Creative Publishing program. Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts please come forward?
The candidates for the degree of Master of Arts are Brianna Georges, Megan Robinson, Paul Rockford, Tara Lamorghese, Michaela Emerson, Alexis Tilechka, Tatiana Cooper, Samantha Caney, Gabriel Chavez, Diamond Unjay, Elide Vincenzi, Abba Deshmuch, Rupal Rao,
Gugliarducci, Irene and Bernard L. Schwartz, Professor of Economics and Policy Analysis and Chair of the Department of Economics, would you please come forward and present the recipients of the degrees in the Department of Economics?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very, very proud of you. Today, you'll hear from the philosophy department, kind of cheekily, that for some of you, your degree has their name in it. You'll hear from the politics department, perhaps that we're all creatures of power and negotiation. The sociology chair will tell you that humans are shaped by hierarchy and cooperation. The anthropologist that we are animals with reminiscences and some sticks also. Thank you, Miriam. From history, that it happened before, we should not let it happen again. From psychology, that you should dig deep, your subconscious has a lot to say. From creative publishing, to beware of petrified pieties. So what's left for economics besides explaining tariffs or explaining them away? Economics tells us who gets what, who makes what. Allocations that are shaped by power, luck, and work. But here at the New School for Social Research, we economists don't just stop at models and markets. Our economics is rooted in justice. It's informed by history. It's open to criticism. And we're alive to the structural forces that define the inequality and change. We do economics with a conscience, with a recognition of David Gordon's attention to worker justice and power, with an attention to Robert Harbrunner's sense that we are all worldly philosophers, and to our economics graduates. May you use your newly acquired and honed tools to challenge what seems inevitable, to design what is better, perhaps waterfalls for all children, to build what is just. Congratulations. I now have the honor and the pleasure to present the candidates of the Masters of Art, the Masters of Science, the Masters of Global Political Economy and Finance, and the Doctor of Philosophy and Economics. Will those candidates please come forward?
Candidates for the degree of Master of Arts are Jacob Segerlind, Elena Ryan, Miriam Frauenlob, Anna Pick, Quinlan Wilson, Mary Luloff, Megan Callahan, Maria Rodriguez Carrillo, Leah Maskey, Nishu Merish, Darren Woods, the candidate for the degree of Master of Science is Samuel Owusu. The candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy are Gina Parodi, Cesar Castillo Garcia, Daniel Delavari Yunesi, Mohamed Berrada, Eduard Nilaj,
Are you hearing? There we go. Okay, great. Okay. I was just going to say, Teresa, we'll see how well you have guessed at what your colleagues are about to say here. I don't know. They're furiously rewriting their comments here, thinking of nasty things to say about economics. We'll have to see here. It's going to go on, but anyway. Rachel Schreiber, university professor of art, media, and cultural history, and program director of the Gender and Sexuality Studies Graduate Certificate. Would you please come forward to present the recipients of the Graduate Certificate in Gender and Sexuality Studies?
Good afternoon, everyone. Congratulations, graduates, families, and friends. Students completing the Graduate Certificate in Gender and Sexuality Studies at the New School study the ways that gender informs all aspects of contemporary society and life. Understanding the importance of gender analysis to all areas of social research is of paramount importance for any research that aims to study and understand the world that we inhabit. After all, we all have gender. Gender is a topic that has been in the news a lot recently. Gender rights are very much under attack right now, including trans rights, reproductive rights, the recent resurgent push to pronatalism, and of course, all the ways that gender rights intersect with all other rights. When preparing these remarks, I had considered not bringing this up because today is a day of celebration. But it is these students, these graduates, whose work will assist in fostering a future of gender equity. I am so looking forward to your contributions. I now have the honor and the pleasure to present the candidates for the Certificate in Gender and Sexuality Studies. Will the candidates for the certificate please come forward?
The candidates for the Graduate Certificate in Gender and Sexuality Studies are Diana Greenfield, Maria Markiewicz, Kevin Tayaba Cabardo,
Federico Finkelstein, President. Professor and Chair of History, would you please come forward and present the recipients of the degrees in the Historical Studies program?
Well, it's an honor to be here, and this is a very, in a sometimes unhappy world, this is a very happy time. So I think we should treasure that. And in my own case, as other people in history, we try to basically understand what is new and what is not, and try to understand the past in order to understand the present. That's why we do what we do. And in the department, in the history department, we have scholars and specialists working on the history of capitalism, the history of technology, the history of the book, the history and politics, and in my own case, the history of people I don't like. I'm an expert on fascism and dictatorships. And sadly, this is the moment to study this. But to the MA graduates, I would like to say that you are in a very different position to the one I was when I did my earlier studies, because I live in the early years of my life under a dictatorship quite influenced by fascism, as I wrote in one of my books. But on the other hand, I had when I was studying this, I studied this in democratic times, in an emerging democracy, and dictatorship was left behind. So in a way, it was such a relief to study fascism and authoritarians, knowing that they were in the past. This is not your situation. This is not our situation. And I think that's why the study of history, if it's always timely, it's even more now. So I would like to congratulate you for having studied that and being an expert now. And now I have the honor and pleasure to present the candidates for the MA in History. Will the candidates for the MA please come forward? Thank you.
The candidates for the degree of Master of Arts are Gant Robertson, D. Martin, Vaidehi Kudiadi,
Okay. Dominic Petman, University Professor of Media and New Humanities and Chair of Liberal Studies. Could you please come forward and present the recipients of the degrees in the Liberal Studies program?
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, everyone. Liberal Studies students, you came here to study liberally. That is, you studied freely with a kind of freedom that can at times be challenging. You came from all over the globe to follow your own academic instincts while hopefully finding inspiration in our classes and guidance in our faculty. Indeed, you're all especially resourceful and self-directed. Your theses explored topics from queer communities in China to the writing of Anne Carson, to liminal spaces in science fiction, to UK drill music, to micro-machismo, to princesshood from Antigone, to Diana, to new queer research methods, love bombing, fossil capital in Mexico, not together, trans-femme literary production, the cis-gays, asexuality, art, and posthumanism, amongst other topics. So from this impressive diversity, you can see why I often say that we liberal studies folks represent the community of those who have nothing in common, which is actually a well-known trope in avant-garde philosophy. So we're happy to own it. And yet, despite the variety of projects, interest styles, and ambitions, every cohort manages to have its own collective identity, its own vibe, to use a popular word full of rigorous precision. I'm especially grateful that I got to work with this particular cohort graduating today. I learned a great deal from your writings, all of which carried the stamp of your singularity, unlike our algorithmic friend and nemesis, Chatty G. I'm proud of you all, and I hope you can now pause, exhale, and allow yourself to feel proud of this accomplishment. And whatever achievements you attain in the future, may you continue to be an attentive, intentional student of the world, freely, even liberally. Congratulations. I now have the honor and the pleasure to present the candidates for the degree of MA in Liberal Studies. Candidates, please step forward.
The candidates for the degree of Master of Arts are Kenzie Rattetrail, Elisabetta Vuscane, Loris Law, Sarah Sharp, Madeleine Crosby, Angus Jackson, Angel Mergoza, Annabelle Helsel, Claire Sable, Lily Pando, Maria Markiewicz, Diana Greenfield.
Chiara Bottici, Professor and Chair of Philosophy, would you please come forward and present the recipients of the degrees in the Department of Philosophy?
Philosophers, you've made it. Hannah Arendt was fascinated by the fact that there could be men in dark times. How impressed I am that there can be philosophers, women philosophers, not just men philosophers, but women philosophers, and even philosophers who are trans in these times. Even philosophers who are being told that there are only two genders and may feel that they don't belong to either of them. What is philosophy? You've made it to do this strange thing, which is not illuminated by a fancy job outside of itself. It can only be illuminated by itself, a passion for knowledge that has no other reason of being than the passion for knowledge. As I look at your face, some of you began during the first Trump administration. I remember your bewilderment. I remember that day when nobody showed up in class because it was the first Trump. Did I know then that it would be COVID? And I remember your faces through COVID. Well, philosophy admittedly takes a long time, particularly for a PhD to be done. So some of you have been around for too long. But this gave you the chance of enduring through not just extraordinary time. We've seen the inconceivable. Would we ever have thought that we would see the right to abortion being revoked? No, and I've seen you going through that. Would we have thought that Trump 1 was not enough, we would get Trump 2? No, and you have, notwithstanding, finished your degree. You remain lucid, mentally lucid, all this time. I am impressed. I'm truly impressed, but I'm also grateful because thinking and philosophy, we know it from Hannah Arendt, is not something that can be done alone. And so for all of your achievement and all of your thinking, I'm also incredibly grateful because you've carried the torch of the passion for truth. And for that, I'm infinitely grateful. And I hope that you will share not just the proud of what you have achieved, but also the gratitude of being part of this community of philosophers, men philosophers, women philosophers, trans people, and all the sort of embodiment, a different form of embodiment. You can carry forward the torch of free thinking. Congrats. I now have the honor and pleasure to present the candidates for the degree of the Master in Philosophy and PhD in Philosophy. Will the candidates please come forward?
The candidates for the degree of Master of Arts are Kevin Tayaba Cabardo, Aspen French, Jared Ijams, Hannah Sharmer, Kevin Howery, Lizzie Elkins, Sophia Kanan, Noah Cooper, Emmanuel Jacob Auerbach Baitani, Panos Chokalis, Jonas Friedli, Vian Punamali, Jean Maurer, Matthew Hewitt, Florindo Valpaccio, Baldwin Bjarnason, Fritz Ries, the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy are Veronica Dakota Padilla, Alan Hilani, Kayla Klinkenbeard, Berker Basmachi,
So it's alphabetical order. Can you guess what comes next? James Miller, Professor of Politics and Liberal Studies, would you please come forward and present the recipients of the degrees in the Department of Politics?
Sorry, it's double dipping. But you know, we're interdisciplinary, right? On behalf of the Politics Department, it's my honor to welcome the graduating class of 2025 and their families and friends. Unlike many departments of political science, the New Schools program rejects the assumption that government can be approached as if it were a natural science. Instead, we take a variety of critical, historical, and interdisciplinary approaches to understanding how states, societies, and groups exert control through various means, often involving power, authority, and the ability to shape and dominate decision-making. Graduate study can be an exhilarating, but also at the PhD level, an arduous, even exasperating process. But know this, we teachers admire your tenacity and also appreciate all that you have accomplished. I congratulate you on behalf of all my colleagues in the Politics Department. I now have the honor and ongoing pleasure to present the candidates for the degrees in the Politics program. Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts please come forward?
The candidates for the degree of Master of Arts are Thomas Jardine, Ozgur Kazakli, Ostiagi, Flavia Nislader, Smith Rana, Georgine James, Irish Curl, Carolina Cortes, Mauricio Emilio Vargas Sosa. The candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy are Begonia Gerling, Patrick Ciaski, Arya Zahedi,
Benoit Chalon, Professor and Chair of Sociology, would you please come forward and present the recipients of the degrees in the Department of Sociology?
Good evening, everybody. It's an honor to represent the Department of Sociology tonight when we confer the degrees on a remarkable group of students. It's a very small cohort, but a very vibrant cohort. And the Sociology Department won't insist on hierarchies, but insisting on a capacity of connecting with a secret ingredient, which I will explain in a minute. But I'm very proud to welcome another cohort of MA students who join a long traditions of learners who have indulged our class that are very specific of qualitative, interpretive sociology, historical sociology, and engaging with long debates in the common lounge in the 9th floor, going through our MA exam. And what is the secret ingredient? Actually, it is as if the department distributes another degree or another training, which is a lot of the representative, in a sense, UAW leadership come from the sociology department. And so I think that's a very important connecting element when we put the students learning, but student workers who are an essential part of this great institutions. So I want to celebrate the master's student and a few doctors in sociology, and I'm very proud of their achievements. In a few minutes, you will walk out. We will all walk out, but you have a new diploma. Congratulations on this very important diploma and achievement. But you will walk out of this university remaining attached to it. I think you're part of a long tradition of students who've graduated at NSSR, and I'm confident you will continue to bring its critical inquiry, the spirit of critical inquiry with you out into the world. Congratulations. I have now the honor and pleasure to present the candidates for the degrees of MA in sociology and PhD in sociology. Will the candidates please come forward for the degree? Thank you.
Master of Arts are Santiago Harvey, Alexandra Mach Paredes, the candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy is Chi Yuan Lin.
Okay, it wasn't entirely alphabetical. Sam Weiner, Associate Professor of Psychology, would you please come forward and present the recipients of the degrees in the Department of Psychology?
I'm honored to present remarks on behalf of our tremendous graduating student body of the Department of Psychology at NSSR. This discipline of psychology is extraordinarily varied, ranging from understanding which behaviors may be associated with a single neuron in the brain firing to what branches of social organization might predict societal conflict. Our students' research runs the full gamut of our discipline. Their work highlights the underlying neuroscientific and perceptual processes by which a person comes to understand basic information, understand others, perceive and design their environment, and build compassion. As Dr. Steele so eloquently detailed, this work is done within the unyielding context of relationality. How does a single person come to know oneself through interaction with others? Our students' basic research has garnered widespread recognition. I'd also like to take this chance to highlight our applied clinical work, as the sheer numbers of hours that our students have provided to our community and the surrounding area is breathtaking. Our graduating master's students provided approximately 6,000 hours delivering psychological care this last year alone. and our graduating doctoral students each delivered over 2,000 hours as part of their licensure requirements in this last year alone, approaching 20,000 clocked hours in clinics and medical centers around the country. Their approach, grounded in relational context and empathy for the diversity of human experience, stands in direct contrast to power structures built on the argument that compassionate care of others in context is unsustainable. We owe you all a deep debt of gratitude for offering a shining example through your committed and inclusive work. With that, I have the honor and pleasure to present the candidates for the degrees in the Department of Psychology. Will the candidates for the degrees please come forward?
The candidates for the degree of Master of Arts are Justine Oświęcimski, Andrew Aris, Samera Shim, Ricardo Luna, Giulia Frate Pietro, Nkobil Mukasa, Tina Shu, Samantha Mellin, Linfei Yang, Robin Atarian, Rebecca Nathan, Eliana Antonaki, Sydney Segal, Anmol Takar, Fernanda Queiroz de Vasconcelos, Caitlin Simmons, Felix Webler, Morgan Rossellini, Tal Malka, Riley Seitz, Samantha Gordon, Olivia Oseiran, Tota Hoja, Tanvi Kulkarni, Ray Thomas, Robert Asherman, CJ Healy. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy are CJ Healy, Savannah Woods, Michael Hager, Samantha Klein, Lauren Krulis, Chantel Tanas Ebrahimi, Lyle Swift Farley, Sophia Mullens, Olivia Cadwell, Gen Sudaka.
Radical empathy, what a great phrase. It's been a great honor and pleasure working with all of you during your time at the new school, and we look forward to continuing our connection with you in the years to come. Come back, tell us how the world is doing and what you're doing. Congratulations to the New School for Social Research class of 2025. This concludes our recognition ceremony, but please listen carefully to what comes next. After our graduates exit, we invite you to join us at one of two receptions. We would like our psychology graduates, faculty, and guests to go to Woolman Hall, which is on the 5th floor of the Lang Building. And to get to Woolman Hall, you take the elevators on the 4th floor of this building, use the walkway to the Lang Building, and ushers and signage will guide you to when you exit the elevators. All other graduates and their guests and the rest of our faculty will stay in the Lang Cafe in the Vera List courtyard just outside here on the ground floor. I ask the audience to remain seated until the entire academic procession marches out. And before we go, just a big thank you to our NSSR Executive Dean's office staff for making all of this possible today. And now, graduates and party platform, if you will please rise, I declare these commencement exercises adjourned.